a human nobody wanted, discovers an ancient machine that changes everything. Kale walked along the rocky canyon, his boots crunching against the dusty red soil. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the jagged cliffs of Zera. 7. A colony planet at the very edge of human space. Most people avoided this planet. Its barren landscapes and harsh winds made it useless for large settlements, but Kale didn't care. The other colonists called him useless, a nobody. That was exactly why he came here, because nobody would follow. Kale had never fit in. At the colony, he was the one people ignored. He was too curious, too quiet, and too stubborn to follow the colony's routine. He spent his days repairing broken machines nobody else wanted to touch, or wandering alone, searching for things no one else noticed. People said he was strange. Some said he was a burden. Even his own family had stopped trying to convince him to be normal. He didn't mind. Curiosity was all he had, and curiosity had led him farther than anyone else had dared to go. Today he had followed an unusual line of rocks that seemed out of place, almost deliberately stacked. Something about the pattern felt intentional. Kale felt a shiver of excitement. The canyon around him was silent except for the wind, and that silence whispered secrets that no one else had heard. Hours passed as he climbed, ducked, and crawled over jagged stones. Just when he thought it was another dead end, Kale noticed a faint glimmer beneath a pile of rocks. Heart racing, he cleared the stones. Beneath was the edge of a metallic surface, worn but unlike anything he had ever seen. Kale's hands trembled as he brushed away centuries of dust. The metal wasn't rusty. It hummed faintly under his touch, as if it were alive. His pulse quickened. "What are you?" he whispered. The opening revealed a structure hidden for ages, a cylindrical chamber, half buried in the canyon floor. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing softly as he entered. The air smelled faintly metallic and smelled of something older, something that had not been breathed in for thousands of years. Kale stepped inside, feeling the temperature drop slightly, and the faint hum grew louder, vibrating through his chest. He had never seen anything like it. The machine, or building, he couldn't tell, was enormous, stretching far above him. Panels with strange alien writing covered the walls. Tubes and conduits wound across the floor, glowing with a gentle blue light. Some moved slightly, as if they were watching him. He realized with a mixture of awe and fear that this wasn't just old technology. It was something alive, or at least aware. Kale's curiosity overrode his fear. He approached a control panel at the center, a flat surface with a complex set of lights and shapes. He reached out, hesitant, touching a symbol that pulsed under his fingertip. The machine reacted immediately. Lines of light traced patterns across the floor and walls, creating shapes Kale had never seen before. Then, astonishingly, a holographic star map erupted from the panel, filling the chamber with blue light. Kale staggered back. He could see hundreds of stars, connected by glowing lines. One star system in particular pulsed brighter than the rest, almost like it was calling him. He leaned closer, trying to understand. A voice, or at least something that sounded like one, whispered in his mind, not words he could hear aloud, but thoughts he could understand. "The human awakener has arrived."
Awakener? Me?
The thought was absurd. He was a nobody. He was the human nobody wanted. How could this machine be speaking to him? He spent hours examining the chamber, cautious but unable to resist its pull. Every panel he touched, every symbol he traced, made the machine respond. It wasn't dangerous, not exactly, but it was alive in a way that demanded respect. It seemed to recognize something in him that no one else ever had. Outside, the winds of Zera 7 blew cold. Kale knew he couldn't stay in the canyon forever. He needed shelter, food, and a plan. But he also knew he couldn't leave the machine behind. He had discovered something far beyond any human technology. If the colony, or anyone else, found out, they would take it from him, claiming it for their own. Kale sat against the wall of the chamber and thought. For the first time in his life, he felt a sense of purpose. Not the kind the colony forced on people, orders, schedules, useless jobs, but his own purpose. He was meant to find this machine. Maybe he didn't know why yet, but he could feel it deep in his bones. As night fell, the canyon outside grew darker, and the stars appeared above him. The machine's hum seemed to sync with the rhythm of the universe, like it was aware of the cosmos in a way humans had never been. Cale realized this was bigger than a discovery. It was a responsibility. He had been chosen, somehow, for something he couldn't yet understand. That night, Cale lay on the cold floor of the chamber, staring up at the flickering lights of the holographic stars. Sleep didn't come easily. His mind raced with possibilities. Could the machine create energy? Could it terraform planets? Could it unlock secrets humans hadn't dreamed of? Every thought led to another question, and every answer seemed impossible, but thrilling. By morning, Cale had made a decision. He couldn't tell anyone about the machine. Not yet. Not until he understood it. He had survived this long, being ignored, being cast aside, and now that he had finally found something extraordinary, he would protect it. He would learn from it. And maybe, just maybe, he could prove that the human nobody wanted was nobody to underestimate. As he prepared to leave the canyon for supplies, Cale took one last look at the chamber. The machine pulsed faintly, almost as if it knew he would return, and Cale, for the first time in his life, smiled. He was a nobody to everyone else, but here, in this ancient humming chamber, he felt like the most important person in the universe. Unknown to Cale, the machine had already begun communicating with others. Ancient devices scattered across the galaxy, dormant for centuries. Its awakening would not go unnoticed. Somewhere, far beyond human knowledge, eyes, curious, intelligent, calculating, would begin to focus on this small, forgotten human who had discovered what no one else could find. Cale had no idea what lay ahead. He only knew one thing. His life had changed forever. The nobody the colony ignored had found a secret older than humanity itself, and the machine had chosen him. And in the silence of the canyon, as the twin sons of Zera, Seven rose, Cale felt a surge of hope and fear that he had never felt before. Because whatever this machine was, it would change everything. The morning sun had barely climbed over the jagged cliffs of Zera. 7 when Cale returned to the hidden chamber. He carried only a small pack of supplies, a few tools, and a notebook he had scavenged from the colony's abandoned archives. Sleep had eluded him all night. He could not stop thinking about the machine, its hum, and the strange pulse of recognition he had felt when he first entered. Cale crouched before the central panel, tracing his fingers over the glowing symbols. Some reacted instantly, pulsing in soft blue light. Others stayed cold, unresponsive. He didn't understand the language. It was nothing like human alphabets, but the symbols seemed to form patterns. Not words exactly, but logic. They were instructions waiting to be solved, puzzles designed for someone clever enough to think differently. He whispered to himself, a habit he had picked up when no one was around.
Okay, KL.
Think. Humans are good at seeing patterns. The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. He pressed one of the larger symbols, shaped like a twisted spiral. The panel lit up across the room and a section of the floor rose slowly, revealing a deep pit lined with strange machinery. Blue light bounced off the walls, reflecting complex structures far too intricate for humans or anyone to have built in modern history. Cale's breath caught in his throat. This was no ordinary machine. It was ancient, older than humanity, yet somehow it responded to him. He had touched the spiral, and the machine had moved. It seemed alive. He took careful notes, sketching the spiral symbol and the reactions it triggered. He had no idea what it meant, but he noticed something. The machine seemed to trust him. It opened slowly, revealing new sections only when he interacted correctly. It was as if it were testing him, like a puzzle that adapted to his understanding. Hours passed. Cale experimented cautiously, pressing symbols, sliding his fingers along glowing paths, and taking notes on every reaction. He discovered he could activate certain fields of energy, barely enough to make a small rock levitate, but it was a start. The machine responded to thought patterns, intuition, and creativity. not brute strength. Humans, he realized, might be exactly what it had been waiting for. But Kale knew he couldn't keep the machine a secret forever. Word traveled fast across the fringes of human colonies. Even here, on a planet most considered worthless, rumors could spread. He imagined the faces of the wealthy explorers from other colonies, the ones who considered themselves cleverer, stronger, more important than he could ever be. If they found out, they would take the machine from him. And Kale, with no allies and no resources, was powerless to stop them in direct confrontation. That realization made him plan differently. Cleverness, not strength, would be his weapon. Kale spent the next day devising simple but effective ways to protect the chamber. He rearranged rocks around the entrance to make it look like a natural cave. He created small energy barriers from the machine itself, subtle shields that disguised the glow of the interior. He hid his tracks using natural wind channels, masking his movements in the canyon. By nightfall, Kale was confident. Anyone approaching would see nothing unusual. But hiding was only the beginning. Kale wanted to learn the machine, to understand its purpose. He noticed a section of the panel that seemed different from the rest. It glowed faintly, but the glow moved in a rhythmic pattern, almost like a heartbeat. When he pressed it, a holographic projection appeared in the center of the chamber. It was a star map, more detailed than any human telescope had ever produced. Lines connected hundreds of systems, showing routes, connections, and clusters that humans had not mapped. At the center of the network was a symbol, the same spiral he had touched earlier, and it pulsed brightly. Kale leaned closer, tracing the symbol with his finger. Then slowly, shapes began forming over the star map. Spheres, lines, and grids that seemed to represent energy flow, planetary atmospheres, and even artificial constructs. The machine wasn't just showing him stars, it was showing him how to manipulate them in ways humans had never imagined. He realized the truth. This machine had a purpose far greater than he had understood. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a simple tool. It was a guide, left by an ancient civilization to awaken something in humans. And somehow, it had chosen him. Hours turned into days as Kale experimented. He learned how to create small energy shields to protect himself from sandstorms. He discovered he could lift heavy boulders and reshape terrain in subtle ways. The power was astonishing, but he understood the machine was teaching restraint. Every time he misused a function, a warning pulsed in the panels, a silent reminder that control and wisdom were more important than brute force. One evening, Kale noticed something he hadn't expected. A faint signal, almost imperceptible, emanated from the farthest corner of the chamber. It was a soft pulse. Unlike the machine's hum, he realized it wasn't coming from the machine itself. It was communicating with something outside. Kale frowned. He traced the pulse across the panels and discovered that the machine was linked to other devices scattered across the galaxy. Dormant for centuries, these devices had been waiting for someone capable of understanding them to awaken them. And now, he had done it. The thought was overwhelming. Kale felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had uncovered something that could change the fate of humanity, but it also carried immense risk. Others might notice the activation. Alien observers, rival human explorers, or even governments could take the device and use it for purposes far darker than he intended. Kale spent the next day hiding the activation signal, masking it with energy fields and terrain shifts. He realized quickly that human ingenuity was the only way to survive. Brute force would not protect him. Creativity, intuition, and cleverness were his allies. Late that night, Kale sat cross-legged in the chamber, watching the holographic stars rotate slowly above him. The machine pulsed in sync with the stars, almost as if it were alive, almost as if it was breathing. He realized it was teaching him patience and observation. Unlike humans, who often acted impulsively, the machine operated with careful logic. To master it, Kale had to think like both a human and the machine at the same time. The breakthrough came when he noticed that some symbols responded not to touch, but to intention. He focused on a complex pattern, imagining energy flowing from the planet's surface into the machine. Slowly, The symbols began to glow, forming new connections on the holographic map. Kale had manipulated the machine with thought, not physical force. His pulse raced. He whispered to himself, barely daring to believe it. Humans. Maybe we are exactly what this was waiting for. Kale spent weeks learning the machine in secret, developing techniques that no human had ever imagined. He discovered he could manipulate energy to create protective shields, purify water, and even grow plants in the barren canyon. Small wonders, but monumental steps. The machine seemed to respond to his human creativity, amplifying every solution he discovered. But Kale knew his secret could not stay hidden forever. One evening, while watching the holographic map, he saw a faint anomaly, another signal approaching from outside the planet. It wasn't a threat, not yet, but it was intelligent, deliberate, aware. Kale understood instantly. The galaxy had noticed the awakening. A cold chill ran down his spine. He was alone, untrained, unprepared for what might come. But he also smiled a little. For the first time, he realized something important. Humans were underestimated for a reason. No one expected cleverness, intuition, or unpredictable creativity from a species so ordinary, and yet here he was, proving that even a nobody could awaken something far older and wiser than humanity itself. Kale spent the next hours preparing. He strengthened the protective fields, refined his control over the machine, and planned for discovery. He had no weapons, no armies, only his mind, his ingenuity, and the ancient machine that trusted him. But Kale knew that would be enough. Humans thrived in impossible situations. Humans adapted, learned, and survived where others failed. As the twin suns set behind the cliffs of Zera. 7. Kale stood in the chamber looking up at the pulsing symbols. Somewhere out there, in the darkness of space, other eyes had begun to notice. The galaxy was watching, and the machine had chosen him as humanity's representative, its awakener. Kale felt a surge of determination. He was nobody to the colony, ignored and dismissed. But here, in this ancient chamber, he was the first human to touch the future, and he would not fail. Because if humans were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable, then even a single human nobody wanted could change the fate of the stars. And Kale was ready to prove it. Kale had spent weeks alone in the hidden chamber, learning the rhythms and reactions of the ancient machine. Every day brought new discoveries, each more astonishing than the last. He could create energy shields strong enough to withstand the harsh sandstorms of Zera. 7. He could lift boulders, grow plants, and even purify water in the dry canyons. Yet, as incredible as these abilities were, he knew the machine had far greater secrets. One evening, while studying the holographic star map, Kale noticed a pattern he had missed before. Lines of energy connecting distant systems formed a network, like the veins of a living organism. Some nodes pulsed faintly as if asleep, while others glimmered with life. He realized that these nodes were not just locations. They were other machines, waiting to be activated. Kale's pulse quickened. He had awoken one of the machines, yes, but there were more, scattered across the galaxy, dormant for centuries. And now he was responsible for them. A single thought crossed his mind. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, and this machine might finally show the galaxy what humans could do. But Kyle also understood the danger. Activating these machines was not without risk. He had no idea how others, humans or otherwise, would react if they noticed the energy flowing across space. Wealthy colonies, governments, or even alien observers could intervene. Kale knew that brute force would not protect him. He needed strategy and ingenuity, human strengths that no other species had fully understood. For days, Kale experimented. He discovered that the machine could amplify his ideas, turning human creativity into tangible effects. He imagined energy flowing into the holographic network, and slowly, distant nodes began to awaken. Faint pulses of light appeared across the star map, signaling that other machines were coming online. The breakthrough stunned him. The ancient civilization that built these machines had left them for humans, not for strength or cunning, but for creativity, intuition, and adaptability. Kale understood that humans were the species the machines had waited for, the species capable of using them in ways no one else could. But as he marveled at this realization, a new challenge appeared. A faint signal had approached Zera 7, a vessel, small but clearly advanced. Kale's instincts screamed caution. Whoever, or whatever, was approaching would notice the energy from the machine if he wasn't careful. Kale activated a subtle shield over the canyon entrance, masking the glow of the chamber. He crouched behind rocks, watching through the thin energy barrier. The vessel hovered silently above the desert floor, scanning the terrain with advanced sensors. Kale's heart pounded. He was alone, unarmed, and outmatched in any conventional sense. But he had something the visitors didn't understand: human ingenuity. He waited until the sensors passed over the canyon without detecting the machine, then quietly returned inside. He had learned something crucial. Humans thrived where others relied on predictable methods. Aliens, machines, and even other humans often thought in linear ways. But Kale's mind worked in patterns and possibilities. He had an edge they could not anticipate. Over the next days, Kale continued his work. He activated more functions of the machine, learning to shape energy on a planetary scale. He could lift enormous rocks to create temporary barriers, redirect energy flows to purify rivers, and even grow vast fields of plants in a desert wasteland. Each experiment revealed a new layer of the machine's complexity, and each success strengthened his confidence. But the biggest revelation came unexpectedly. One morning, while focusing on the holographic star map, Kale discovered a symbol he had never noticed before. It resembled a spiral combined with a network of lines, glowing faintly. When he touched it, the machine projected images of distant planets, some teeming with life, others barren and lifeless. Energy flowed from one world to another, and Kale realized the machine could balance ecosystems, redistribute energy, and even stabilize entire star systems. The implications were staggering. A single human, guided by this machine, could reshape worlds, heal dying planets, and create sustainable life where none existed. Kale understood the truth. Humanity was no longer weak. Humans, underestimated and dismissed, had the potential to change the galaxy, not through war, but through ingenuity and creativity. Kale also realized the responsibility he bore. Activating the distant nodes had already sent signals into space. Some of these signals might reach humans, some might reach alien civilizations. He had no way to predict the consequences. Every action could ripple across systems, altering events in ways he could not foresee. But Kale trusted his instincts, and more importantly, he trusted human adaptability. One night, while resting in the chamber, Kale noticed something new: a faint presence within the machine itself. Not a voice, exactly, but a sense of awareness, almost like the machine was communicating directly with his mind. Thoughts of strategy, guidance, and learning flowed into him. The machine had been waiting for someone capable of understanding humanity's unique qualities: creativity, intuition, and unpredictability. Kale realized with awe that he had become not just a user of the machine, but a partner in its operation. But the galaxy was not unaware. The approaching vessel had returned, this time accompanied by others. Kale watched from the canyon, analyzing the situation. He knew direct confrontation would be foolish. Instead, he devised a plan. Using the machine, he created illusions and energy diversions, guiding the vessels away from the canyon. He manipulated sensors, redirected energy pulses, and created phantom signals that confused the intruders. Within hours, the vessels retreated, believing the canyon held nothing of interest. Kale allowed himself a small smile. Humans survived because they adapted, innovated, and improvised. The visitors had relied on technology and brute observation. Kale had relied on creativity. The lesson was clear: human ingenuity could outmatch force or technology alone. The next breakthrough came when Kale discovered the machine's ability to interface with human thought patterns on a collective level. By focusing his attention, he could amplify solutions and ideas, creating effects beyond what a single person could achieve. This meant that in the right circumstances, humans working together could operate these machines on scales the ancient civilization had designed but never implemented. Ko began imagining the possibilities. Humans, underestimated and overlooked, could solve problems no other species could. Energy scarcity, dying worlds, and environmental collapse could be reversed. Humans had a unique capacity for creativity, adaptation, and cooperation, and the machine amplified these qualities. But Kale also understood the danger of overreach. He experimented cautiously, testing small planetary-scale changes before attempting larger projects. He learned patience, precision, and foresight, qualities that were essential for using such power responsibly. The machine rewarded careful planning and punished impulsive actions. Kale realized that humans' greatest strength was not raw power, but the ability to think, adapt, and imagine. The biggest test came unexpectedly. A distant node in the holographic network began sending rapid signals toward Zera 7. Kale traced the source and discovered a dormant machine awakening in response to his actions. Its energy pulses were far stronger than anything he had encountered. The chamber vibrated as the machine began connecting with him directly, demanding understanding and focus. Kale realized he was now part of something far greater, a network spanning the galaxy, ancient and powerful, waiting for humans to rise. Kale focused. He visualized the energy flows, guided the pulses carefully, and connected with the distant machine. Slowly it responded, synchronizing with his intentions. He could feel the galaxy-wide network coming to life, one node at a time. His pulse raced with excitement and fear. Humanity was awakening, and the machine had chosen him to lead the first steps. Kale also realized the consequences. The energy flowing across the network would be noticed. Intelligent life, human or alien, would detect it. Some might see it as a threat, some as a curiosity. Kale had to be careful, but he also understood that humans had a unique advantage. Unlike other species, humans could improvise, adapt, and create solutions no one could predict. That unpredictability was exactly what the machine valued. As night fell over Zera 7, Kale sat cross-legged in the chamber, staring at the pulsating star map. The distant node shimmered in response to his focus. The galaxy was awakening, slowly, deliberately, through him. He was still a nobody in the eyes of the colony, still dismissed and ignored by society. But here, in this chamber of ancient intelligence, Ko was proving that even a single human could reshape the universe through ingenuity, patience, and imagination. And then, it happened. The holographic map revealed a new symbol, brighter and more complex than any before. Ko recognized it immediately. It was not a puzzle, not a function to learn, but a message from the ancient civilization the human awakener has proven capable. Prepare for arrival. Kale's heart pounded. Prepare for arrival? Was it a warning? A test? Or something else entirely? He didn't know. But he did know one thing. Humanity was about to be noticed. Not as weak, expendable creatures, but as creators, problem solvers, and innovators. Exactly what the ancient machines had been waiting for. Kale clenched his fists. For the first time, he felt powerful, important, and alive. He was still a nobody to the colony, still ignored by most of human society. But he had awakened something far older and greater than humanity itself. He had proven that humans, with their creativity and ingenuity, could rise above expectation. And the galaxy was about to find out. Kale stood at the center of the chamber, the hum of the ancient machine surrounding him like a living heartbeat. The holographic star map above him pulsed with energy, connecting nodes across the galaxy. He had awakened distant machines, linked them, and now he felt the flow of energy in ways he had never imagined. Every pulse, every shimmer, seemed to respond to his thoughts. He was no longer the human nobody wanted. Here, in this chamber of ancient intelligence, Kale was the awakened one. The machine had chosen him because he was human, curious, inventive, unpredictable, and now he could show the galaxy what humans were capable of. But Kale knew this power came with responsibility. The energy flowing through the network could change worlds, heal dying ecosystems, and create life where none existed. Yet it could also be dangerous if misused. He had learned patience, precision, and humility. Every action had to be deliberate. Kale focused, imagining energy flowing from Zera 7 to distant planets. The nodes responded instantly, pulsing with life. Some systems glimmered faintly, barren worlds coming to life as plants and water appeared where there had been none. Rivers began to flow across desert landscapes. Air quality improved on planets that had long been uninhabitable. The ancient machine amplified Kale's intuition, turning ideas into reality. He paused, realizing the magnitude of what he had accomplished. Humanity, long underestimated, now had the power to shape the galaxy. It wasn't through war, or conquest, or brute force. It was through creativity, imagination, and intelligence, the traits that made humans unique. Outside the canyon, the wind swept across Zera 7, carrying with it faint signals from the awakening machines. Kale knew he had been noticed, not just by humans but by intelligent life across the stars. Some might see him as a threat, others might see an opportunity. But Kale didn't fear them. Humans had always survived against impossible odds, using wit, ingenuity, and unpredictability. That unpredictability was now his greatest advantage. The first signs of response came in subtle ways. On one distant planet, Kale noticed tiny structures forming, small cities rising where none had existed. Automated systems, powered by the energy network, began supporting life, creating a balance between nature and technology. Kale understood instantly. The machines were not just tools, they were partners, amplifying human creativity to achieve what no single person or species could do alone. Kale's thoughts turned to the approaching vessels he had noticed weeks before. He realized they were likely returning, drawn by the energy signature of the network. But he was ready. Using the machine, he created illusionary landscapes and energy distortions, hiding the chamber's true location. Any observers would see only barren desert. Those who sought control would find nothing. As the vessels hovered in the skies above, Kale focused, directing the energy network toward Zera 7 itself. A subtle shield formed around the canyon, transparent but impenetrable. Any probe or scanner from the vessels would be misled, diverted by the machine's subtle manipulations. Kale's mind raced as he realized the true advantage humans had. Creativity could outmatch raw technology every time. Then a new signal appeared on the holographic map, a direct message from the ancient civilization that had built the machines. Unlike previous symbols, this one conveyed thought, emotion, and instruction. It flowed into Kale's mind like a gentle wave. Your species has been chosen. Others will come to test you. Prepare to show your worth. Kale's pulse quickened. Others will come, he whispered to himself. Not enemies, not yet, but observers, intelligent beings who would judge humanity by its actions. The thought was daunting, but Kale understood the opportunity. This was humanity's chance to prove its value, in a galaxy that had underestimated it for millennia. Kale worked tirelessly. Days and nights blurred together as he activated more nodes, experimented with energy flows, and refined his control over the network. He could move planets' atmospheres, purify oceans, and balance climates. He could redistribute energy to planets in need, creating stable ecosystems where none had existed. Each success strengthened the network, amplifying the ingenuity of humanity itself. But Kale knew this was only the beginning. The network could do more, much more, if humans worked together. The machine responded best to intuition, creativity, and collaboration. If he could teach others to think like he did, imagine solutions, adapt, and innovate, they could unlock the full potential of the ancient technology. Humans were not weak. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and imaginative. And now Kale would show the galaxy exactly what that meant. He decided to test the network on a larger scale. Visualizing the energy flows across multiple star systems, Kale activated the interconnected machines simultaneously. Nodes pulsed, planets shimmered, and the galaxy seemed to breathe. Life spread where there had been none. Deserts bloomed, oceans cleared, and barren worlds became habitable. Energy that had lain dormant for centuries now supported ecosystems, technology, and even small human settlements. Kale watched in awe. The galaxy was changing, not through war, conquest, or domination, but through human ingenuity amplified by the ancient machines. Humans, once dismissed as fragile and ordinary, were now vital to the balance and growth of entire star systems. And then the observers arrived, not aggressively, not with weapons, but with curiosity. Alien vessels of unimaginable design appeared near the edges of the energy field, scanning, watching, learning. Kale did not hide. Instead, he focused on demonstrating the potential of humanity. He guided the machines to create small, controlled phenomena, rivers appearing across barren worlds, forests growing in deserts, energy pulses stabilizing chaotic weather systems. The observers watched, silent and calculating. Kale realized this was humanity's moment. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. They had overlooked curiosity, creativity, and the ability to solve problems that no one else could predict. Humans thrived in chaos, adapted to impossible conditions, and imagined solutions where others saw only failure. The observers seemed to understand. Slowly, their ships withdrew slightly, signaling acknowledgement rather than aggression. Kale felt a surge of triumph. Humans, the species nobody wanted or respected, had proven their worth not through violence, but through ingenuity. As the network stabilized, Kale sat on the floor of the chamber, exhausted but exhilarated. He realized he was still a nobody to the colony, still ignored by those around him. But here, at the edge of human space, he had become the catalyst for a new era. Humanity had awakened, and the galaxy was taking notice. For the first time in his life, Kale smiled without hesitation. He had discovered a power beyond comprehension, learned its secrets, and used it responsibly. He had proven that a human nobody wanted could change worlds, shape galaxies, and awaken the potential of an entire species. And as the stars pulsed above him, as the machines hummed in quiet approval, Kale understood something even deeper. Humanity had always been underestimated. But underestimated humans had one advantage the galaxy could never predict: creativity, resilience, and imagination. Kale leaned back, watching the holographic network shimmer. Humans would step into the galaxy not as pawns, not as weaklings, but as creators, innovators, and problem solvers. The machine had chosen him to awaken humanity's potential, and he had done so. Somewhere, far across the cosmos, other intelligent beings observed, calculating, learning, and understanding. But it didn't matter. Humans had proven themselves capable. Humans could adapt. Humans could imagine. And humans could change the galaxy in ways that no one ancient or alien had foreseen. Kale closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. He thought about the colony that had ignored him, the people who had called him a nobody. He didn't feel bitterness. He felt pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. They were clever, unpredictable, and resourceful. And now they had a chance to step fully into the universe. The machine pulsed once more, softly, like a heartbeat. It seemed to recognize his understanding, his wisdom, and his care. Kale had mastered the first steps. The galaxy was watching. Humanity was awake. And for the first time, Kale felt a profound truth. Being a nobody did not matter. What mattered was action, intelligence, and heart. The human nobody wanted had become the human the galaxy needed. With a final glance at the holographic network, Kale whispered, "Let's show them who we are." And the stars seemed to respond. The network pulsed brighter, energy spreading through countless worlds. Life, hope, and creativity began to flow across the galaxy. Kale, once dismissed as insignificant, had ignited a new era. Humanity had awakened. No one would ever call humans weak again. And Kale, the nobody, had changed everything.